Hey, Bright Lights, welcome to the Space Doctor series on the Architecting channel. This is our first reading for May, and I am really excited to share some of this research with all of you. If you don't already know, my name is Angela. I am an architect, researcher, and feng shui consultant who has spent my whole career studying how the built environment impacts our well-being, so you don't have to. I've made it my mission to give you easy ways to not only understand all of this research, but to apply it in your own life. So you don't have to be a design professional to do this. As always, we use my Saluda Genesis deck, which is broken into two parts. Foundational concepts, which are the things that are basically out there about what creates or depletes health, and then the salutogenesis work itself. Each of these aspects has been assigned to a feng shui element as well, and I will talk specifically about feng shui strategies as we discuss the cards. So I always draw one card from each part of the deck, which means that you're going to hear something different about the extensive research that's out there every single time I talk about the card, because I'm going to be talking about it in the context of its companion card. You wouldn't want me to sit here to talk for hours about any of these cards, even though I could. So we're going to focus on just one piece, something you can use, understand right away, and then we keep building, which is why if you are interested in studying this, you're going to want to like and subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss a single thing. Our first card is socioeconomic. This is part of the foundational concepts. It is a two-part card. So the first part of this is the environmental exposome, and this card, the second part, is the socioeconomic. Now, the exposome is basically everything outside of us that we are exposed to. And as you can imagine, the environment deals with our physical environment, while the socioeconomic part, also you may have heard referred to as social determinants to health, are the social and economic dynamics of a situation. Things like, do you have access to transportation to get you where you need to go, when you need to get there? What level of education do you have? Do you have a place to live and feel good about going there every day? Do you have access to healthy food every day? Do you have financial stability, a strong social network, and finally, personal safety? And safety is the one that we're going to focus on today. And as you can imagine, this is largely tied to things like crime. Do you worry that there's a drug deal going on and you may get caught up in an argument? Are you worried that your children don't have a safe playground to play on, or that you will get attacked or get caught up in something like gang violence? Are you worried someone will steal your car, break into your home? Those are very real fears, and they definitely impact our quality of life. I know in my research, I've talked to people who say they're afraid to let their kids go out to play because there are needles on the playground and they don't want the kids picking them up, which then means the children have less fresh air and physical activity purely because of the safety factor. And you can imagine how that isn't going to help you grow up strong and healthy. It's probably going to lead to other problems. But safety can also mean how comfortable you are personally being approached or interacting in an environment. So if you are an introvert and you are thrown into a very crowded, busy, jostling place, and you have to really focus a lot, that can be scary to you. If you are somebody on the neurodiversity spectrum, it can feel overwhelming. So you're not going to feel safe if you're in a situation that makes you anxious. So that's really what we're talking about when we say safety. It could be your physical safety, it could be whether something is anxiety inducing or whether something makes you feel socially uncomfortable or awkward. Now, moving on to the companion card, which is from the prospect and refuge part of the deck, we got occupying the edge. Now, this is also known as thigmotaxis, and it is really about the fact that when there is a defined edge, as you can see, the woman sitting here along the cliff edge, we feel safer than when we are in the middle of an open space. So, to understand why that is, let's first talk about prospect and refuge, which is an aspect of salutogenesis, which is all about having the ability to survey a space from a vantage point. It is directly about safety, so you can see how it plugs into that socioeconomic exposome. Occupying the edge is a big part of finding that vantage point because from that edge, we are protected from things on at least one side. So that gives us the ability to have less exposure to potential dangers. Our back is protected. We know what we're dealing with, but it also reduces the sensory load. If you think about it, if you're in the middle of an open space, you've got to try to have a 360-degree awareness of what's going on around you. If you are up against an edge, it's more like 180. If you're in a corner, it might be 90. If you're in a little niche, it might be less than that. So that edge is what is protecting you. And there's been a lot of studies, both with human beings and with animals, that show that that is an important thing that we're kind of hardwired to seek out. It's why a lot of times people respond very positively to old neighborhoods that have a lot of density to them and very defined streets with edge conditions. The buildings all line up and make effectively a solid wall. Now you get to more modern developments with sea of parking in front of it and big box stores. It's a whole different scale. We don't have that edge condition. It's very much eroded, which means we don't feel as comfortable interacting. We're trying to quickly close the distance in that open space and get to our destination. And this is also why a lot of times, if you give people the option of where to sit, they will choose the seat towards the back with their back against a wall. And actually, the more anxious you feel, the more likely studies show that you are to seek that edge. So there have been studies where they have blindfolded people. And what's the first thing people do? They kind of reach out with their hand. And as soon as they find an edge, they stay along that edge and keep one hand there. We've seen it also in studies with virtual environments. So it's not even real space, and yet people tend to look for the edge because it helps to orient them as they navigate that virtual environment. So the less safe you feel, the more you're going to seek that edge. And I know that in my own work as well. I have designed behavioral health spaces where we have built benches in along the edge. And we've gotten an incredible amount of positive feedback from the staff as well as the patients who've used these spaces, saying that they feel so much more comfortable. And you can imagine it if you had been admitted into an environment that involved intensive group therapy, but you're already in an acute situation, or you would be able to stay home and do this, right? What are you feeling? Are you feeling like you want to be in the middle of the room making friends, or are you feeling like you want the safety of that edge? We've learned that the staff have better conversations with people when they feel safer along that edge, and they're able to establish trust, which is so vital to the therapy that takes place. So let's talk about the symbolism in this card to help you remember. You can see that these are cliffs, like nature's version of an extreme edge, and those really represent symbolically risks, new beginnings, that ability to reduce your risk so that you are more willing to embrace change and something new, trusting in the journey, making the unknown feel a little bit more manageable. That cloud in the blue sky is really about feeling higher thought, revelations, because now we can more deeply explore because our senses aren't occupied with worrying about being safe. Now, we don't see the path, even though we see the hiker up there on the edge taking a break, because her journey is something that is unfolding. But we know that there is one, that there is a journey here, and that that edge is playing a role in making that journey something safer. The feng shui of this, of course, is around that power position. So in feng shui, that is very important. You're always recommended to have a solid wall behind a desk, which is why you can see I'm in my home office and I have a wall behind me. I do not have my desk facing a wall with my back exposed. In your living room, do you have furniture floating in the room or have you got it anchored to the walls? In your bedroom, is your bed not only against a wall, but not behind a window where we don't feel as safe because our back's not protected? In the workplace, this is especially challenging because most offices have now gone to an open workspace, and the desk arrangements often leave our backs exposed. So, what are some ways you could cope with that in the workplace? You can buy convex mirrors, they sell them at auto body stores and they're adhesive. You could stick that on the computer screen in front of you, or you can stick it on if you have a little divider partition behind you. It lets you see what's behind you, so it feels a little bit safer. You can also sometimes choose to move the desk position if you're able, or ask maybe for a different place to sit so that you have a better sense of what is coming towards you. You can define the edge of your desk using things like books or a stapler or maybe some decorative objects or other environmental anchors that symbolize things to you. And you can use a desk bagua to kind of put things in each part of the desk that is going to correspond to each of the 9 areas of the bagua. But this is really important here. We are really wanting to ground ourselves, to define our space, and to increase our awareness of others around us with the least amount of effort, because the more effort it takes, the higher our anxiety is going to rise. Don't forget that when we are talking about occupying the edge, it's part of prospect and refuge. This is an earth element. The earth element in feng shui is about predictability, solidity, grounding. So we want to really think about how the earth shelters and protects, how the earth has seasons and rhythms that we can predict. That's really the kind of feeling we want to cultivate when we think about prospect and refuge, and especially when we hone in on providing those edge conditions. Maybe we are designing space and we're creating some alcoves or cubbies, safe, sheltered subspaces within a bigger space that make people feel a little bit more comfortable. And certainly think about human scale along those edges so that people feel a little bit more resonant and can respond. So I hope you have learned something today about what it takes to feel safe in a space. It is vital to our health and well-being. It is part of the collection of things in our exposome that we are exposed to every day, that environmental sea that we are all swimming in, and it absolutely impacts our well-being. But when we leverage prospect and refuge, especially this idea of occupying the edge or thigmotaxis, we can really help to alleviate all of this. So I hope this was helpful. And if you would like to continue getting these videos, make sure you do like and subscribe. It's easy to forget otherwise. You might get the video coming up, but you may not. So this way you'll get it for sure. And I will see you next time.